Welcome back to another video. Today I'd like to discuss Final Fantasy IX for the PlayStation 1. It was released in 2000. A little bit of backstory for how I came to play this game. In 2015, about 10 years ago, I decided to buy a bunch of RPGs for the PlayStation 1. And so I bought Final Fantasy VII, Final Fantasy VIII, Final Fantasy IX, and Legend of Dragoon. And I actually, about 10 years ago, I played through about two-thirds of Final Fantasy VII and then stopped. And I actually didn't touch any of those other RPGs I had bought. So this copy right here is what I bought in 2015. So fast forward to this past summer 2024, and I decide to do a playthrough of Final Fantasy VII. Absolutely loved Final Fantasy VII, and right after I decided to play Final Fantasy IX. So unfortunately, I went to play Final Fantasy IX, this copy, and the first two discs were very scratched. I couldn't even start the first disc basically. So I realized I needed a new copy, and I even brought this copy over to a retro game store, and they informed me that my disc 3 was a fake. So Final Fantasy IX is a game that I used to watch speedruns of a long time ago, and I've always listened to the soundtrack of this game. So finally, this past December, I bought this copy of Final Fantasy IX, the greatest hits, and I started a playthrough, and it took me about 3.5 weeks to beat it, and I actually finished it about 3 weeks ago. So I've been meaning to give some thoughts on the game. So, first of all, this game has a phenomenal story, like an unbelievable, satisfying story that really, really picks up. And it's just the combination of the world, the characters, and the story is completely amazing, and one of the best I've ever played in any game. Um, and it's such a story that will just keep you wanting more, that will touch your heart, that both with how lighthearted it can be, with also how it can be a tragic story. Um, and it's really a story that meant a lot to me, that I felt invested in while playing it. Um, but the story is really the best aspect of this game. Meanwhile, everything else is great in this game. The characters are completely amazing. Characters like Zidane, Garnet, Aiko, Vivi, Steiner, they're just all so great. Um, Garnet, I want to talk about. Garnet is just an amazing heroine, lead female character. I know she's a princess of a kingdom, but she's just so likable, and her relationship with Zidane is totally compelling. It is a romance story, but the romance is there. It's not overbearing. The story doesn't totally revolve around it, and that makes it so much more successful. A really, really good romance story. I'm not someone who even likes romance in general. I never read romance novels or anything, but the relationship between Zidane and Garnet is just so strong. The ending is phenomenal. The I won't spoil anything, but the final ending, the final twist, I did not see coming at all. It made me so happy experiencing that. It was so nice that that wasn't spoiled for me. An extremely strong ending involving these characters. So Zidane and Garnet, their relationship is extremely strong, but them individually are incredibly deep characters who go through their own turbulence in their life, and make and have their own changes. Zidane and Garnet are such good characters. Like, even not connected to each other, they're amazing characters. Aiko is a character who you get introduced to probably more than halfway through the story, and Aiko fits in so perfectly with the rest of the cast. It's literally perfect. Her dynamic with characters like Zidane and Garnet is beautiful, and she's just a complete breath of fresh air when she's introduced into the game. Her character leads the plot from then on. Um, her character drives the plot just as from then on it drives the plot just as much as Zidane and Garnett. But Aiko's incredibly lovable. Another phenomenal character. Her relationship with Garnett is interesting. It's interesting how how Aiko's like trying to woo Zidane, who obviously Zidane and Garnett are an item. Vivi's another great character who's very popular. And then the locations in this game are really, really cool. Seeing the different nations like Alexandria, Lindblom, Bermesia, Clara, they all have their own unique personality and quirks. Um, the world feels completely connected with each other. There's some political drama that goes on, which is fascinating. A lot of the story of those locations is pretty tragic, but really gripping. I really like the opening scene of this game. There's like the first scene is an extremely long scene involving the play and basically which gets the plot going. And you can tell that that whole scene was just a labor of love from the developers and the writers. It's just like a perfect scene to bring you into the game. And Final Fantasy VII has a great opening scene, but this one was totally different, and it totally draws you in completely, and it's perfect. I like how this game has more of the medieval fantasy theme to it. Sort of more similar to a like a Final Fantasy IV type game. Meanwhile, Final Fantasy 6, 7, and 8 are kind of a new technology type of theme, but this harkens back to the old days of Final Fantasy, like Final Fantasy 1 through 4. And that's really fun. I actually haven't played Final Fantasy 6 or 8 yet, but those I'm gonna play in the future. But it's definitely different from Final Fantasy 7, which I played and loved. And one thing I'll say is that the at first I was a little bit concerned about the long loading times for the battles. It takes like 15 to sometimes 18 seconds to load just the normal battles, which is a little bit concerning at first. The Final Fantasy VII's load times are like less than half that. But I will say that the battles are phenomenal once they get going. Like even the standalone battles with normal enemies are fantastic when you get into a groove, and the boss battles are great when you get into a groove. So the battle system is really fun. And part of the reason the load times are longer is that in this game you get four characters you're controlling at once, while in 7 and 8 you only have three. So I think that the load times are something that can be overlooked, and the gameplay is just awesome. The music is incredible. Some of my favorites are Freya's theme, the Trino theme, Roses of May, Not Alone, and The Village of Dali. This is amazing music that touches you emotionally. You get emotionally involved in the music. It's just completely beautiful music. And Nobuo Uematsu is a complete genius. I love his soundtracks to the other Final Fantasy games like 7. I've never played Final Fantasy 8, but I've listened to that soundtrack a ton. Nobuo Uematsu is a genius, and this maybe could be his best work. I did honestly like the card game Tetra Master. I know that a lot of people seem to complain about it. I really didn't play the card game at all until I had to. About halfway through the game, there's a point where you have to play the card game, and I did. And then actually after that, I enjoyed playing the card game for the rest of my playthrough. So I think that card game gets a lot of hate, and it's honestly pretty good still. Um, the ending is absolutely phenomenal. And I think it is a successful romance story. It's not overbearing. It's just there. It just really works. Um, and then yeah, and then it's just a very special game. The characters are so good in this game. The characters were good in 7, but the characters are good in this game for different reasons. Queen is a really funny character. She's lovable. I didn't really play as her very much in this first playthrough I did. Maybe the next time I play through Final Fantasy 9, whenever that will be, maybe I'll use her more often. I also like how Steiner and Zidane start off sort of as enemies, and they start off fighting, not getting along, fighting over the princess. So that was kind of entertaining, their lack of friendship in the beginning. But then they end up having respect for each other and working together throughout the game. So I think that's a fun development of the relationship between Steiner and Zidane. Overall, though, really one of the best games I've ever played. One of my favorite RPGs I've ever played, and it was such a great time playing this game. It made me so happy to play this game, and to look forward to playing this game every day. I did play through it relatively fast. 3.5 weeks is a decent speed. So I'm wondering, what do you guys think about Final Fantasy IX? Be sure to comment your thoughts on this great RPG. Maybe you disagree with me. Maybe you don't like it. Maybe it's your least favorite game in the series. Who knows? The other thing I'm worried about, I'm not worried. The other thing I'm curious about is, do you guys change the characters' names when you play RPGs? In Final Fantasy IX, you can name most of the main characters. I typically tend to change the name of a couple of them per RPG that I play. Like in my playthrough of Final Fantasy IX, I changed the name of Garnet to something unique, and I also changed the name of Aiko. That's just something I'm wondering. Anyway, thanks for watching this video, and have a great day.